Oh, boy. Salon is saying that Vince Vaughn is now in showbiz purgatory.
I hope he expected this. I'm sure he did.
Movie star gone sour Vince Vaughn and defrocked Fox wacko Glenn Beck are producing a reality show together. Oh, boy. At first glance, Wednesday's press release announcing a production of something called Pursuit of Truth sounds just like another bad idea for a soon-to-fail reality show. An Apprentice or American Idol-style competition between documentary filmmakers. It's almost as interesting, at least the average TV viewer, as a show about orthodontists or paving contractors.
Yeah, because those shows, no one watches them. No one watches those competition shows.
Right.
There's no interest in them at all, even though there's 15 just about singing.
And can I tell you something? We're not looking at the average viewer either. That's not what we're doing.
No.
We're looking for people who are paying attention to what's going on in the world. You know, I mean, would you say that Frontline is a failed documentary show?
No.
No. No.
Whether it would exist or not without the U.S. government is another matter, but yes.
Yes. We're looking for, because what I'm looking for are the next great investigative talent. That's what I'm looking for. Who's out there that wants to be an investigative reporter? Because you can't get them from school anymore. They're dead. So where are we going to get them? We're going to have to grow them ourselves. So let's find great filmmakers and great investigative journalists. And so that's what we've done. We've put together a show called Pursuit of Truth. We announced it yesterday. It starts spring of 2013. You can go to pursuitoftruth.com and find out all the details, but I'm the executive producer along with Vince Vaughn. Then the Salon says it seems to be a bit sad and almost desperate. Two of the most tarnished brands in show business, Glenn Beck and Vince Vaughn, are together at last. Really? Vince Vaughn? I'm not going to argue for me. Vince Vaughn is tarnished?
In what way? I mean, he's had hit after hit after hit. His last movie wasn't maybe spectacular numbers wise. What was it? The Watch.
The Watch. But that was
like a neighborhood watch movie.
And that was also Ben Stiller and Jonah Hill were in that too. I mean,
some pretty big stars.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, looking back at his history, I mean, he is one of the biggest comedy stars in all of Hollywood. I mean, you go back to, let's see, Couples Retreat made over $100 million. Four Christmases was really good.
That was really good.
That was a good little romantic comedy, $120 million.
I haven't seen that. That is good.
That is good. Yeah.
The Breakup, $118 million.
Which I thought was great. That was Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah,
I thought that was great.
$100 million is blockbuster status.
Yeah. Wedding Crashers, $209 million.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, he played a really funny role in that movie.
He was
What did he
great
play in that?
He was like the third assassin. He lived with his mom.
He was the friend of Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
I think he's a riot.
It was fantastic.
How
much did that make?
He is as funny.
$186 million.
Wow.
I said to him halfway through dinner. We had dinner together in Chicago, and I said, "You're a really bad actor." And he just looked at me. The whole room stopped. He went, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Seriously, you are exactly who you are on screen." I mean, the timing. He is one of the funniest guys. All he does, I think, is just write his life. He was telling me because he's lost a lot of weight in the last year and a half or so. And I said, "You lost a lot of weight. How'd you do it?" And he said, "Oh, I went to an acupuncturist." I said, "You lost weight through an acupuncturist?" He said, "Yeah, well, I have a really bad back." And I said, "Yeah, I know, me too." And he said, "You're going to enjoy this story." He said, "So I go to the doctor and the surgeon's telling me I can do this, I can do that." He said, "I go through all these painkillers and I don't want to do any of that." He said, "So I finally, somebody says, hey, there's this great acupuncturist in Chicago. You go to see him and he'll take care of your back." So he said, "I've never done that before. I'm laying on the table and they're sticking these needles in me." He said, "Have you ever had that done?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, it's painful." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "This old Chinese acupuncturist is sticking the needles in me." And he said, he gets right down to you. And he said, because they do stuff, they stick stuff in your ears and stuff. And he said, his face is right next to my ear. And he hadn't said a word to me except get up on the table. And he gets down and he's sticking the needles in. And all he says is, "You fat." And he said, all of a sudden I realized, my gosh, he's right. That's what the problem is. I'm fat.
So he didn't lose weight from acupuncture. He lost weight because the acupuncturist told him he was fat.
He said there was something about this old wise Chinese man just saying, "You fat," that made sense to me.
That is awesome.
He's great. He's great. Anyway, both guys have a certain amount of arm's length plausibility deniability in this deal, which involves The Blaze and from Beck and Wild Wild West production from Vaughn. Blah, blah, blah. No one is claiming that Beck and Vaughn met over raspberry mojitos at TGI Fridays and hashed out the details. You're right, that didn't happen. Although that's such a wonderful and torturous thing to imagine, I'm not ruling it out. As for whether the so-called documentaries imagined to come out of this program will be apocalyptic screeds about the tyranny of the Obama administration and the left-wing media elite, I don't know. What would be your guess exactly? Joel Cheatwood, president of The Blaze.
Well-written article, by the way.
Yeah, puts it in the most mamby-pamby terms imaginable. The documentary film, particularly those that seek the truth with no agenda, is an important art form that is struggling to survive in this media environment. Yeah, sure, I agree, but why do I have the funny feeling the words no agenda, when uttered by a mouthpiece for Glenn Beck, mean something entirely different? Well, I don't know. As for Beck, what can you say? This guy is the guy who got cashiered by Fox News for being too much of a guano head, paranoid, inflammatory nut job.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, remember that?
Darn it, I
Remember
forgot about
when
that.
we left of our own volition and then
Started our own network.
Started our own
and then,
network, yeah.
It's a terrible move
The
for us.
case of Vaughn is much more complicated, but it's tough to describe pursuit of the truth as a good sign. Though through most of the 90s and the early 2000s, Vaughn looked like a rising comedic superstar with romantic leading man potential. As recently as 2007, he was the highest paid actors in Hollywood, commanding a reported $20 million for a leading role. Of course, that leading role was in Fred Claus, which may have you, which may tell you all you need to know about the last half of Vaughn's career.
Yeah, the next two movies after that, he made a combined $229 million. So good reporting.
So he
there.
has a bad.
He's really
movie.
tarnished.
And by the way, Fred Claus still made $72 million. Isn't that ridiculous?
Jeez, man.
This is the problem with people like Vince Vaughn, who obviously is somebody who has courage in his convictions. Because when you say, "Oh well, I'm going to do this network because this show with Glenn Beck because I think it's going to be a good show, an interesting project, and a way to bring out new talent," you're risking your own career. These people who are looking at them and saying, "Well, now I don't like Vince Vaughn because Vince Vaughn talks to Glenn Beck." It's the same thing with Penn Jillette. Oh, well, now I don't like Penn Jillette because Penn Jillette talks to Glenn Beck. Get over yourself. This isn't a high school clique. I mean, why can't we all? I mean, we have tons of liberals who work for us.
The adults are just going to say, "I don't like you guys." Everybody's kind of been tolerating the clique for a while, but there's going to just come a time, and it's going to happen quicker than you think. At one point, people are just going to go, "Yeah, I'm kind of done with you guys. I don't want to play in your game anymore because you guys are all losers." And their clique will be over. They'll be the losers that you see in every Hollywood movie, every high school movie where the cool kids all of a sudden lose. I mean, go ahead. I tell you what, guys, I'm going to sit with the vampires because I have a feeling they win and save the day in the end. I'm going to sit with the vampires. You go ahead. Make fun of them because of the way they look. They're going to suck the blood out of your neck one of these days. Probably soon. Probably in the third episode. I'm just saying. I'm going to sit with the vampires. Here's our sponsor this half hour. It's Gold Light. What?
Oh, it's an interesting analogy there.
Oh, I'm just saying. It happens in every movie. How they can't see it coming is beyond me.
They never do.
Oh, the loser kid all of a sudden is like with all the cool kids, and the cool kids are like all of a sudden like not the cool kids that you thought at the beginning of the movie. The cool kids they're all in the corner crying because some vampire just jumped on them and sucked all the blood out of their neck.